Hello and welcome to the Sacred Gates here on YouTube. My name is Illura and welcome to all the new subscribers. And to those of you who received the newsletter, here is the podcast on judgment and clearing up some of the judgments that we have around judgment and judging that limit us. A lot of how we individually feel about judgment is a reflection of society, so how we collectively feel about it. And I have noticed over the years, growing older from being a teenager, early 20s, 30s, 40s, that my perception of judgment has changed. And I have also had a lot of experience of society's ideas and perceptions of judgment as well. And how we feel about judgment reflects our beliefs about judgment and what it is that we hold inside with our beliefs around it. Many of us believe that judging is a bad thing. Judging others, judging ourselves, judging situations, it's actually often got a bad rap. And I would say quite often in spiritual, new age, alternative scenes, healing environments, social environments, that is quite collectively a strong belief that judgment is bad. So you have those judgment-free zone. In fact, I was on a treadmill the other day and I looked at the treadmill and it said judgment-free zone. I was laughing because I knew that would be the next podcast we do. But judgment-free. And so there's something behind that, there's something in that, and I just want to clarify what that is about so that we can transcend our unskillful views of judgment. So first we need to look at what is judgment from a technical viewpoint, from a practical standpoint. So when we are judging, what is judgment is that you are developing your senses. The fact is, whether you want to judge or think you should or shouldn't judge, or others should judge or shouldn't judge, you already have judged. It's happened already. Judgment happens so quickly. And what judgment really means, you could also almost say that I judged equals I sensed. So judgment is a primal, innate, intrinsic skill, ability that we have. And the reason why it's intrinsic, it's innate, is because it is one of those things that keeps us safe. It's what keeps us alive. For example, if you were to cross a busy road with lots of traffic coming both left and right, and you were to cross that road without judgment, just say if you could take your judgment completely away, or that you try to take your judgment away, no one in their right mind would cross a road trying to not judge. The reason is if you were to do that, you would more likely get injured or get killed. So judgment has a very, very important role in our life. And without it, we would die. Even just down to the fact that we're always judging, is this person safe? Can I trust them? Is this situation safe? Can I trust it? Is this food okay for me to eat? Or is it okay for my child to eat? Can I trust it? Is it safe for us? What is this smell that I can smell? Is this alerting me to danger? I'm going to judge this smell. I'm going to judge this sound. I'm going to judge this place. I'm going to judge this video. I'm sensing whether this video content is safe for me to watch or not, or safe for my child, etc., to watch or not. Is this car salesman ripping me off? Is this person that I'm thinking of dating or marrying, whatever it might be, is this good for me? Is this a safe experience for me? Interviewing people to move into a share house is a really good example of needing to judge. I mean, they're literally coming over so you can judge them and they can judge you. It is like a meeting of judgment, So everything is a judgment, and that's because we are always sensing, because we're humans. Now, judging these days in our very politically saturated and socially media-driven world has its consequences, as you're seeing a lot of people who are speaking out against a lot of things at the moment. Whatever side of the fence is, whatever fence there is and whatever side of it you're on, a lot of people are getting really denigrated, receiving a lot of vitriol for judging. And so judging now has become something you may not, well, in some places, in some circumstances you can get killed for, but also you can just lose, have a bad reputation or have 2 weeks of, constant nastiness online. So a lot of people don't want to be, seen as holding certain beliefs. So it's understandable that judgment can put us in the line of fire and cause us to be unsafe too. So there's a natural wariness of judgment, and sometimes we do need to keep things to ourselves but we still want to keep those lines of communication and honest communication open within ourselves. Because if you did just go around saying what you think, there would be consequences. Another side of judgment that I think comes up for a lot of people is that we're often told as children by our parents or by our peers, especially in our teens and our 20s, and it can easily go on into the 30s and 40s, that we're often told, and perhaps it might be women, maybe, I don't know, maybe men can write what you've noticed yourselves, but we're told like, oh, you're seeing this person in such a negative light. You're only seeing the negative in this person. And that's a judgment in itself, is it not? And yes, I am judging this person negatively. Yes, I am. I'm sensing something negative in that person. That's the same as seeing it. That's the same as judging it. So you are judging the negative in people sometimes because there is negative in people. And it's an important skill to have. And being able to judge the negative in someone can protect you from receiving negative into your life. And that's a really smart thing to do. It's intelligent, it's articulate, it's natural, it's primal, it's your instinct to pick up on dodgy, weird, strange, not safe behavior in another person, whether they're family, friends. So we need to be able to feel free in ourselves to judge. Now, there can be a difference between gossiping, and I always say the line between gossiping and not gossiping, just say if you're talking about someone in a kind of negative way, is whether it's who you're having the conversation with, how you're having the conversation, and mostly is the conversation about that person solutions orientated. If it's not, then it's gossip. If it is solutions orientated, then it's not gossipy, because it transcends the consciousness of the conversation. It transcends the judgment, and this is what we're going to get into now. So let's look at when you try to be someone that does not judge. This is what you open yourself up to, and reflect on whether this is true for you, all of this that I'm saying. When you try to be someone that doesn't judge, you open yourself up to allowing others to treat you like a doormat. You allow yourself to open yourself up to being a bystander, someone that doesn't step in when you truly know that you need to step in to protect someone or yourself. When you try to be someone that doesn't judge, you also open yourself up to thinking that you are stupid, incapable, unsure of yourself. You end up doubting yourself, of course, because you're muting and like pretending that you are not a judgmental person. So you're actually like putting a blanket over your most crucial innate ability to sense what's going on for you. So of course, part of that is closing down your psychic mapping abilities. You then, of course, are naturally going to be manipulated more easily, ripped off and used by others. And also, not only this may not have been an obvious one, but you also strengthen your image, your self-image, because you have an image that you're wanting to project out there in the world. You want to be judged by this image, ironically. You want to be judged by the image that you are not a judgmental person. So you're strengthening your image, an image of yourself, someone that might be kind and modest. But this is dishonest. Yeah, because modesty is not honest. Humility is honest, but modesty is dishonest. It's a manipulation. So you're trying to manipulate others' judgments of you. So you are already engaging in judgment yourself. You see how we can't escape it? So where are all these unskillful and beliefs that limit us come from? It's from the fact that judgment without enough awareness is what's happening. We're not aware enough of judgment and the importance of it. And we may not be aware then of our judgments and what's actually going on. So then these negative, limited beliefs about judgment, they come from the fact that each of us has experienced the negative side of judgment, which there is a negative side to it. But just because something has a negative side to it, it doesn't mean that the answer or solution is to pretend it doesn't exist. Rather, we must get to know it more intimately, and we do this through observing ourselves, and not just of ourselves, but also observing others. It is through observation that we're able to deepen our ability to see, deepen our insight. We deepen our awareness, and thus our awareness deepens, Our awareness deepens. And when our awareness deepens, it also rises higher and it expands, which gives us a much better understanding of ourselves and of others. We have a much larger map to work with. Imagine Google Maps. You're really zeroed in really small. You pull your fingers out on the screen and you just get wider and wider and wider. There's so much more scope available to you. So this doesn't necessarily stop us from judging, because remember, this is an innate ability built into our systems to keep us alive, ultimately. But it does give us a broader, less narrow perspective to interpret the world around us and respond to judgments from that larger perspective. So this process, this ability, is called transcending, which I mentioned earlier, and it is our ability to ascend in the light of truth. It becomes called wisdom in the end. We transcend to a higher and more refined and purer state of judgment. So our judgments go through a filtering process, so to speak, that transcends them to a higher state of consciousness. It transcends us to a higher state of consciousness. And over time, how we judge, over time, how we process, how we do judge may change, but judgment will remain, because it is not something we can stop, but it is something that we'll be able to perceive more clearly which judgments need transcending, which don't. Now, transcending does not mean that we don't acknowledge. It does not mean that we ignore or pretend or fabricate, like a lot of the time people might in a more spiritual scene, a social setting, where there's a lot of pressure to appear to be not judgmental, as if that makes you more compassionate. So we don't want to fabricate. So in transcending, we're actually becoming more honest. And you're needing to be more honest because you need to know what means what judgment needs transcending, what you need to go beyond in relation to your ethics and what you understand about humans and what's going on here. What have you picked up in this situation? So you then need to be continuously aware of your own ethics, and then you use the willpower that you have to protect your ethics, and that willingness to protect, that desire, that will to protect your ethics at all costs, it is what drives you to be honest in that moment with that judgment. And then your willpower and your honesty transcends your unskillful judgment to something higher, something more skillful, and it is this process that makes you wiser. It is this process of transcending through lining your ethics up with honesty that you're able to access a much broader map, a much broader map, like I said, like the Google map. So because of this whole process, you're allowing yourself to accept yourself as a judgmental being that's got room for improvement on looking at which beliefs need some refinement. What is the truth here? Your senses, you're training your senses to pick up on so much more. You will become someone that sees so much more detail, important details, and you can then see many steps ahead, and you can see your own and others' fabrications, hidden motives and agendas, manipulations, insecurities, the strengths and weaknesses, and your own strengths and weaknesses a lot more clearly. I call this your mapping ability, which is what we also teach our students to become better at. So rather than a doormat, you come to understand the true resonance and essence and purpose of compassion, and then come to respect your own boundaries, because everyone has their own boundaries, and what shapes those boundaries are your own values and ethics. You are also developing a sense, a judgment, for when to endure and when not to endure, based upon your judgments through a well-developing lens. You're able to better discern what path is the right path to endure and where you shouldn't put your endurance, which path is not skillful. That's a really important ability to have, to know which path is skillful for you. Okay, I'm going to endure more on that path because it's a skillful place to put my endurance, and which path is not. All of these skills require you to accept that you're a very judgmental being, and to be honest about your judgments. And that is the first step to transcending your judgments when they need to be transcended, evolved. So in order to make peace with your innate ability to judge and to sense, and to become more empowered within this skill, All of these processes are required. You need to be able to observe. You need to stand by your ethics. You need to know what you're judging against. Your ethics are what you have as the core foundations of your judgments. You need to understand what your inner values and ethics are. So everything stacks up against those. And then, of course, you need the courage, the will to commit to protecting those ethics so that you can then do what you need to do. And of course, we need to be able to judge, well, what is a judgment that I don't really need to transcend? It's crossing the road. And which judgments really are thinking so badly about people and harshly, and how that's more of a gossiping, selfish, self-absorbed, unskillful, detrimental, toxic judgment, and transcending that. And when you learn to transcend that, then you are developing a lot of skills within that. Like I mentioned, you're really broadening your map, your mental map, your ability to see details, understand what's going on, what's motivating people. You are questioning yourself, you're internally questioning others' motives. You may be seeing the negative in people. Yes, this is okay to see that, as long as it's going through the filter of your ethics, so it doesn't become toxic. It's really important to have those abilities in this world, because this world is not always a spiritually affirming, supportive, collectively collaborating place. It's also quite a chaotic and dangerous place. And so our judgment is always going to be there to protect us. And then we also want ourselves to spiritually transcend the judgments that we can see that need transcending. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys, to the podcast. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so that you are updated and notified of all up and coming videos. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye for now.